Space Center in Houston. Good evening and good morning from the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, where at this hour, an unpiloted Soyuz MS-14 spacecraft is in the home stretch of its two-day rendezvous from the launch pad of the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan to what is expected to be an automated docking to the Poisk module on the space-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station less than 45 minutes from now. This unpiloted test of the Soyuz spacecraft is designed as a test flight that will pave the way for the use of a 2.1A Soyuz booster and an upgraded Soyuz spacecraft to carry crews to the International Space Station beginning next March. Here in the Space Station Flight Control Room at this hour, the Orbit 3 team of flight controllers is on console. Zeb Scoville, who is the second from the bottom of your screen in the gold tie, he is the NASA flight director who's in charge of tonight's operation from this end of the world, joined on console by Flight Director Adi Boulos and spacecraft communicator Tamara York, who will be talking directly to the space station crew during the course of tonight's activities. The Expedition 60 crew is awake. Tonight's operation being controlled from the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow in the town of Korolyov, where Russian flight controllers have been in charge since the Soyuz spacecraft reached orbit 2 days ago, 8 minutes and 45 seconds following its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. The Expedition 60 crew on board the International Space Station, the half-dozen residents of the station, are all awake at this hour, led by Station Commander Alexei Ovchinin, joined by NASA astronauts Christina Cook, Drew Morgan, and Nick Hague, European Space Agency astronaut Luca Parmitano, and the other Russian cosmonaut on board, Alexander Skvortsov. The journey of Soyuz MS-14 began 2 days ago from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan with liftoff right on time at 10:38 p.m. Central Time, which was 8:38 a.m. at the Cosmodrome on Thursday morning. The Soyuz 2.1A booster, which has been used since 2015 to lift unmanned Progress cargo ships to the International Space Station, was configured for this first test flight of the unmanned Soyuz spacecraft. It lifted off on time from Site 31 of the Baikonur Cosmodrome, arced out to the northeast, toward an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator, and the journey to the International Space Station was underway. 8 minutes and 45 seconds after this launch and a cloudless sky, 73-degree Fahrenheit temperatures in Baikonur, the Soyuz separated from the third stage of the Soyuz booster after a flawless climb to orbit and began an automated series of engine firings to raise its orbit and fine-tune its path to the International Space Station. Tonight's operation in testing the final phase of the approach of the modified Soyuz spacecraft to the International Space Station will be very interesting. The Soyuz systems are all in excellent shape. Here in the flight control team in Houston, in the flight control room, the Orbit 3 team of flight controllers were polled a short time ago, and Flight Director Zeb Scoville relayed to his Russian flight director counterpart in Korolyov that we are go for docking, which is scheduled just 41.5 minutes from now. Unlike a progress vehicle, which is equipped with a backup rendezvous system called the TORU system, that is the acronym for the telerobotically operated rendezvous system, the backup to the automated KURS rendezvous system. The KURS is the primary rendezvous capability to guide these Russian vehicles in for automated dockings to the International Space Station. Because there is no crew on board Progress vehicles that are cargo ships, there is no TORU installed in tonight's Soyuz vehicle that is, again, under automated approach on the KURS system for its docking a short time from now. As a result, inside the Russian segment of the International Space Station, Station Commander Alexei Ovchinin and Flight Engineer Alexander Skvortsov are monitoring the approach of the Soyuz, particularly after its fly-around and final approach, and if necessary can issue commands to the Soyuz to abort its approach in the highly unlikely event a problem would crop up with that KURS automated rendezvous system. We do not expect that to happen. All of the Soyuz systems have been rock solid so far, no issues reported as the Soyuz enters the final phase of its two-day journey to the complex. The station is currently flying 260 statute miles above the Earth, flying from southwest to northeast, currently traveling almost directly over Buenos Aires, skirting the east coast of South America, soon to make a pass over the Atlantic Ocean and the west coast of Africa. Although there are no human occupants on board the Soyuz MS-14, in the center seat normally occupied by the Soyuz commander is the humanoid robot called FEDOR. The Russian space agency has a more technical name, calling it Skybot. It carried a Russian flag in its right hand during the climb to orbit 2 days ago. It will be brought on board the International Space Station next week for a series of experiments to be conducted by Ovchinin and Skvortsov before it is returned to the center seat of the Soyuz in time for the Soyuz undocking scheduled 2 weeks from now and its parachute-assisted landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan, just as a crewed vehicle would return to Earth. This Soyuz spacecraft will be analyzed post-flight, all of the telemetry being conducted on its performance on board to be evaluated by RSC Energia technical specialists before the green light is given for a crew to launch in a modified Soyuz on the Soyuz 2.1A booster next March. The next crew to launch to the International Space Station on September 25th, Oleg Skvorpochka, NASA astronaut Jessica Meir, and United Arab Emirates spaceflight participant Hazza Ali Al-Mansouri, under a contract with Roscosmos. They will launch on the last Soyuz FG booster in the inventory from Yuri Gagarin's launch pad, the last scheduled launch of a crew from Gagarin's launch pad in the foreseeable future. All of the 2.1A booster launches of future crews beginning next March will be off Site 31, which is a further trek to the east of Site 1 from the Site 254 suit-up and integration building facility at the Baikonur Cosmodrome. The Soyuz MS-14 is right on the money, about 5.5 kilometers away from the International Space Station. It will be entering the neighborhood of the station a short time from now to begin a fly-around. About 16 minutes from now, it will be a fly-around of about 67.6 degrees in angle that will precisely align the forward docking port of the Soyuz MS-14 with the Poisk module, to which it will dock automatically. After docking, after contact and capture, there will be a few moments to allow the relative motion of the two vehicles against their docking surfaces to dampen out against one another before the docking probe on the Soyuz is retracted to initiate the closing of hooks that form a hard mate between Soyuz and the International Space Station. That will be followed by about 2 orbits worth or 3 hours worth of leak checks by Ovchinin and Skvortsov before the hatch to the Soyuz vehicle is open, after the station hatch on the Poisk side of the docking interface is opened first. Tonight's docking of the Soyuz MS-14 to the International Space Station culminates a busy week that not only saw the launch of this vehicle 2 days ago from Baikonur, that launch coming some 9 hours after the completion of a spacewalk by NASA astronauts Nick Hague and Drew Morgan to install an international docking adapter to pressurized mating adapter number 3 on the zenith or space-facing port on the Harmony module of the International Space Station. That is the second of 2 such international docking adapters that will be the port of call for U.S. commercial crew vehicles in the years ahead, the SpaceX Crew Dragon vehicle and the Boeing Starliner CST-100 vehicle that will be launching soon to bring crews to the International Space Station. In addition to launches on Soyuz vehicles, they'll be working in tandem for crew exchanges in the years ahead. This view from an external camera, the engineering cross-aired camera on the Soyuz MS-14. In the lower left-hand corner, you see 4.3635 kilometers. That's the distance between Soyuz and the International Space Station. And the value underneath that is the rate of closure at the moment, about 8.2 meters per second. At the time of contact and capture, about 34.5 minutes from now, that rate of closure will close to a glacial 1/10 of a meter per second to allow a gentle contact and the initiation of capture and the closing of the hooks between Soyuz and the Poisk module. The Soyuz vehicle that is arriving at the station today carries 1,450 pounds of cargo in 2 bags that are flanking the humanoid robot FEDOR. The cargo to be brought on board the station consists of standard supplies for the crew members on board the complex. The Soyuz will be loaded with other items to be brought back to Earth for its undocking on Friday, September 6th, and a parachute-assisted landing in the pre-dawn hours of Saturday, September 7th, Kazakhstan time, the afternoon of September 6th, U.S. time. Basically the same type of landing that we've seen crews return to Earth in, almost in the same exact area, about 80 miles or so to the southeast of the remote town of Zvezda on the south-central steppe of Kazakhstan. At this point, the Soyuz onboard computers will be executing a series of so-called impulse burns of its engine. These are mid-course correction burns to fine-tune its path to the International Space Station. Very short firings of the engine to increase its approach velocity and to fine-tune its path up until the time that it reaches the vicinity of the station to begin its fly-around at a range of about 400 meters. The space station with the Soyuz in pursuit is traveling just off the northeast coast of Brazil, about to transit toward the west coast of Africa that will carry it just over Algeria and the Mediterranean. The Soyuz MS-14, now less than 2.7 kilometers away from the International Space Station, closing at a rate of just under 8 meters per second, right on course for an on-time docking. And again, this will culminate the first phase, at least, of the test flight of this unpiloted vehicle in preparation for the start of preparations for the March launch of a crew to the International Space Station on the Soyuz 2.1A booster. This is the booster that the Russian Space Agency will be using to launch crews to the International Space Station beginning next spring for the foreseeable future. Even as the Soyuz is approaching for its automated docking to the International Space Station, preparations are underway for the departure of another visiting vehicle, that being the SpaceX Dragon vehicle that was launched in July to carry several tons of cargo and scientific experiments to the International Space Station. It is mated to the Earth-facing port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station. It will be detached from that port next Tuesday, August 27th, and will be robotically released by robotic flight controllers here in Mission Control to fly to a safe distance away from the International Space Station for its deorbit burn. Our coverage of its release will begin at 9:15 a.m. Central Time next Tuesday, 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. The release itself is scheduled at 9:42 a.m. Central Time, 10:42 a.m. Eastern Time. It will be deorbited for a splashdown, a parachute-assisted splashdown in the Pacific, about 300 miles to the southwest of Long Beach, California, several hours later.
And it's a reverse roll still, and the station is coming back into the center. Copy. 1,800 meters is the current range. Copy.
And just in the upper left-hand quadrant of this engineering view from the Soyuz external camera, that dot is the International Space Station, now just 1,700 meters away. Soyuz closing on its expected approach velocity of just about 4.2 meters per second.
Yuri, can we select between, can we close the Sudan page and reopen it again, maybe to refresh it by doing that? Stand by one.
The pace of activity with the comings and goings of visiting vehicles at the International Space Station punctuated by the fact that next week, in less than a week, the next crew to launch to the International Space Station, Oleg Skropochka, Jessica Meir of NASA, and the United Arab Emirates spaceflight participant, Hazza Ali Al-Mansouri, and their backups will be conducting their final qualification exams next Thursday and Friday at the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center in Star City, Russia, outside of Moscow, before they venture down to the Baikonur Cosmodrome for final pre-launch training. That launch is scheduled for September 25th.
Moscow Station, Space to Ground 1. Control R has been pressed, and the data inconsistency is still there. Copy that. Station Moscow. Go ahead. You'll need to close page 44 and then reselect it. In work.
The series of mid-course correction engine firings by the Soyuz MS-14 under automated control from its onboard computers continues. Again, fine-tuning its path to the International Space Station, now less than 1,000 meters away. This view from a camera in the balcony of the Russian Mission Control Center. Once again, Russian flight controllers and monitoring the progress of the Soyuz MS-14 to its final destination, which will be the Poisk module on the space-facing side of the Russian segment of the station. After the undocking of the Soyuz in 2 weeks for its parachute-assisted landing in Kazakhstan, that Poisk module will also be the destination for the next Soyuz vehicle, the MS-15, which will be occupied by 3 crew members for a 4-orbit, 6-hour journey from the Baikonur Cosmodrome to docking to the Poisk module on September 25th.
Secondary source. So student page is the backup, is the second backup. So basically, what you're seeing on the page 44 on symbol is prime. Everything else is secondary. Okay, I'm gonna restart the page 44 on the symbol to make it correct.
700 meters now separating Soyuz from the International Space Station as the station flies directly over Senegal on the west coast of Africa, moving from southwest to northeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. The Soyuz performance so far has been flawless, with docking expected about 23.5 minutes from now. And with the International Space Station soon to fly into an approaching sunrise, you begin to see the station come into better view from the external camera on the MS-14 vehicle.
You can get ready to execute command C-47. Copy. CS-47 is ready to be executed. Copy.
Доброе утро, ты меня слышишь?
Alexander, good morning. This is Vladimir Soloviev. How do you read me?
Да, слышу, Владимир Алексеевич. Приветствую вас. Доброе утро.
Good morning, sir. I have you loud and clear. How are you? Yeah, good morning to you as well.
From the Russian Mission Control Center, a greeting to the cosmonauts on board the International Space Station from the Russian Chief Flight Director, Vladimir Soloviev. There's our first view of the approaching Soyuz vehicle, the unpiloted MS-14, with one non-human occupant, the FEDOR Skybot, sitting in the center seat, the Soyuz commander's seat, in the descent module of the 3-sectioned Soyuz spacecraft. The fly-around of the International Space Station is now underway, having just begun. This is an operation that will take just a few minutes, with the range now about 400 meters between Soyuz and the station. The fly-around angle of 67.6 degrees to precisely align the forward docking port on the Soyuz with the Poisk module docking port.
Начал за режим облет, расстояние 380 метров.
380 is the range. 48 is the rate, and we're getting steady visual, and we're in the middle of fly-around right now. Copy all.
And another view of the Soyuz MS-14 from a camera on the truss of the International Space Station. The fly-around continues in automated form. The two Russian cosmonauts on the station, Alexei Ovchinin and Alexander Skvortsov, in the Zvezda service module, monitoring the approach of Soyuz, at the ready in the event a problem would occur to the KURS automated rendezvous system. They could issue a command to abort this approach. However, as you see, the engine firings, the small thrusters on the Soyuz continuing to fine-tune the fly-around path of the Soyuz vehicle. Everything continues to go as planned. There will be a station-keeping period coming up in just a few minutes for a few seconds to allow the Russian flight controllers to assess the relative position of the Soyuz to the Poisk module docking port before the command is issued to initiate the final approach prior to docking, which is scheduled about 17.5 minutes from now.
На 245 метров 039 на взлет аварии инструкции нет, все в норме.
245 is the range, 039er is the rate, everything is nominal. Copy.
Ну, само изображение плохо сейчас видно, просто как-то получается его не подсвечивает.
The image itself
Ориентируюсь, станцию сейчас не вижу.
is not clear enough.
В темноту ушла. 233 метра, 028 на взлет.
So I'm basically going off of the data that I'm seeing on the overlay, and it's 233 and 028 for range and rate. Copy.
Flying over northern Algeria, about to cross the Mediterranean. Great view of the Soyuz MS-14 that launched 2 days ago from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. We're about 16 minutes away from docking. Everything proceeding in perfect fashion. All of the Soyuz pre-programmed engine firings have gone off as planned, as the Soyuz is about to reach its final location for a brief period of station keeping that will be in advance of the initiation of final approach for docking.
Station visual is steady. Event 214 and 017 for range and rate. Copy.
По входу в зону НИП через 2 минуты возможно будет выдать пересветку.
You'll be able to manipulate AGC in order to improve the image 2 minutes from now once we go AOS ground sites. It's fine now. Yeah, we're getting out of eclipse, so we're getting some solar illumination, so we should be good for now. 200 meters is the range, 01 is the rate. 20801. Station visual is steady, everything appears nominal. Copy.
Soyuz and the International Space Station about to cross Italy and then southern Europe on this orbit of the Earth. A good view of the engine firings on the Soyuz vehicle, punctuating its completion of the fly-around to basically put the brakes on that will enable the Russian flight controllers to assess its position relative to the Poisk module docking port.
AOS on the Russian ground site. So AGC is not available until we get there, so... Thank you, sir. Alexander copies.
Да, Саш, извини, я...
Sorry, did I just call you Alexei? I meant Alexander.
Саш, вот сейчас смотри и скажи нам, как будет лучше.
Alexander, why don't you let us know as soon as you see some improvements on the image quality? Illumination is perfect right now, sir. I think this should be sufficient as far as the AGC manipulations. All right, sounds good. Let's just leave it as is. Yeah, it's plenty good. Good visibility. Should be good to go. Docking port visual is stable, and the size is consistent as I'm seeing it from the service module standpoint.
Soyuz less than 200 meters away from the Poisk module, as you see the KURS automated rendezvous system conducting its corrections to precisely align the forward docking port of the unpiloted Soyuz with Poisk. We're expecting the final approach to be initiated a short time from now, everything continuing to go well.
Moscow Station, are you getting the image? A-Farm Station, we are. Confirming signal acquisition.
There are tests being conducted on both sets of the KURS automated rendezvous system, part of the test flight objectives for the Soyuz MS-14.
Another station. Copy, Moscow.
Ожидайте переключения комплектов на корабли.
Yeah, we're confirming acquisition. Copy.
Ну все, Саш, перешли мы на новый курс.
Alexander, everything should quiet down noticeably. This is Vladimir Solov again. We're transitioned back to the new course string. Yeah, I can see it already.
Формируются облеты, давай смотреть,
Yeah.
на облете эти дела пойдут.
Yeah, we're going to go right into the fly around, and why don't you monitor extra attentively how things are going to proceed. Yeah, should follow that with the signal acquisition.
Есть захват.
I confirm that.
Есть ориентация на стыковочный узел.
Its attitude is towards the docking mode. Docking assembly now. Copy that.
So after a series of tests of both strings of the KURS automated rendezvous system, the Soyuz is now locked onto its target on the Poisk module that you see just to the north of the crosshairs on this external engineering camera. The Soyuz 146 meters away. The Soyuz currently in the final roll maneuver that will properly position the solar arrays for final approach and contact and capture.
Hey, Alexander, as far as what we're lacking on the roll, we're going to need another 60 degrees or 57 at least, so please be patient. Yeah, it started at about 120 degrees.
Как оцените дальность визуально?
Visually speaking, how do you assess the range right now, station?
Сейчас скажу вам.
Stand by.
Порядка 2 клеток.
About 2 squares, I would say. Copy. Let me grab that range ruler.
The onboard computers testing the flying characteristics of the Soyuz MS-14, again all part of the flight test objectives for this unpiloted vehicle as we stand by for the initiation of final approach.
Где-то оцениваем порядка 150 метров.
Around 150 meters in my assessment is the range right now, Moscow. Copy.
Есть причал на корабле.
Понял.
Все, работаем в режиме причал. Идет набор скорости.
We're in the approach mode, accelerating. 066 is the rate right now.
With final approach having been initiated, the Soyuz less than 100 meters away, closing at a rate of just under a half a meter per second. The Poisk module docking port is just to the left and just above the center of this cross-haired view from the external engineering camera. The International Space Station crossing the border between Russia and Kazakhstan.
110, 115 meters and 2 squares from the service module. Copy, Alexander.
Опять ушли в завком.
We're in station keeping again.
Хорошо, принял. Вы картинку устойчиво наблюдаете, да, я так понимаю?
Moscow, can you confirm that you're getting a stable video right now? That's affirmed.
На расстоянии порядка...
Range is approximately 110 meters, Moscow. Copy.
The KURS automated rendezvous system on the Soyuz vehicle is currently working to lock itself back on to the Poisk module docking port.
Расстояние сохраняется порядка 100 метров.
Range is stable at about 100, 110.
Сан Саныч, просьба визуально контролировать,
Alexander,
меняется ли размер станции.
can you continue to visually monitor and let us know if the station size changes?
Да, чем я сейчас и занимаюсь.
That's precisely what I'm doing right now, Moscow.
Принято.
Copy. Keep your commentary regular, please.
The cosmonauts in the Zvezda service module, Alexei Ovchinin and Alexander Skvortsov, monitoring the Soyuz vehicle as it continues to attempt to have its KURS automated rendezvous system lock on to the Poisk module in this final stage of its approach. The Soyuz is sitting at a range of about 100 meters away from the station.
Диаметр сам сейчас где-то порядка был 2,5 тысячи, около 91 метра.
2.5 squares is the size, is the diameter of the service module right now, and 90 meters is the range. Copy, station.
Да, 2,5 клетки так и держится, около 90 метров.
2.5 squares, so about 90 meters, and stable.
Flying over northern China near the border with Mongolia, the Soyuz MS-14 continues to gather data automatically for its onboard computers from its KURS automated rendezvous system. As we stand by for the Russian flight controllers to determine where we are at with the Soyuz MS-14 and whether or not final approach will be initiated for its automated docking to the Poisk module.
Ушли солнечные батареи, не наблюдающие станцию.
Okay, so the solar arrays are out of the frame. I'm not seeing them. Station solar arrays. Oh, seeing them again now. Copy both.
Опять зависли насчет напротив антенны АКР. Мне тяжело сейчас.
We appear to be station keeping right now. It's hard to assess the range because I don't see the service module in the frame right now. So we're kind of going around the edge of it. Hard to assess the range. Copy all, Alexander.
Картинку не наблюдаем.
Station Moscow, we're getting no video right now.
Саш, ты примерно дальность можешь оценить?
Alexander, this is Vladimir. Can you assess the range? I don't see the station right now. We're trying to see it through the DC one. Yeah, go through the look through the windows. Yeah, we're trying to do that right now. We're trying to track it down visually. Sir, we're trying to. Yeah, just see where it's right now, where it is right now. Yeah, we're making every attempt we can think of to try to track it down visually right now.
13-12 пытаемся использовать. Иллюминатор.
We're using Windows 13 and 12 for that purpose.
We just want to let you know that the KURS is having difficulty locking onto the target, and we wanted to make sure that you were awake. And you have a go to open Windows for situational awareness if needed.
Copy, thank you. Any correction on our part needed at this time?
No correction.
We're getting no visual of the spacecraft through Windows 12 or 13. Copy that. We're going to try to look out of the DC-1 and from the crew quarters as well, real quick. Alexander.
Запускаем процедуру CS-47.
Alexander, you are go to send command CS-47. Getting ready to execute CS-47, Moscow. CS-47 has been sent. Copy.
Station Houston on 2, Soyuz is aborting.
Hey, Alexander. Go ahead. This is Vladimir. It's in the middle of an abort right now. Are you saying? We're trying to get a visual on the spacecraft. We can't see it. It appears to be backing away. At least that's the impression we're getting. Okay, copy, sir. But we get no visual.
This is Mission Control Houston. As you heard, spacecraft communicator Tamara York here in Mission Control informing the crew on board the station that the approach of the Soyuz MS-14 to the International Space Station has been aborted. The command issued by the cosmonauts and the Zvezda service module, Soyuz now backing away to a safe distance from the station to allow Russian flight controllers to assess the next course of action, this occurring after the Soyuz encountered an issue of unspecified origin with its KURS automated rendezvous system unable to lock on to the target on the Poisk module docking port of the International Space Station.
It's in the LVLH. And
the abort command from
in front of the station.
Station Commander Alexei Ovchinin issued at 12:36 a.m. Central Time.
40 meters below the station.
Station Houston, range is increasing.
How copy, Moscow? Copy.
Russian Chief Flight Director Vladimir Solovyev has told the cosmonauts on board the station that the decision to abort the approach and to back away will enable them to assess the situation with the Soyuz KURS automated rendezvous system before another attempt is made, but it's not clear when that would be. And a reminder, just like unlike a Progress cargo ship, the Soyuz does not have a TORU automated backup system, does not have a backup system, a telerobotically operated backup system to the KURS automated rendezvous system, because when a crew is on board, if the KURS system encounters a problem such as the one we've just seen, the Soyuz commander would take over the flying of the Soyuz vehicle. But in this test flight, with no crew on board, the KURS automated rendezvous system was the only rendezvous system available with an abort capability available for the cosmonauts on board the station. That abort was issued just a few minutes ago at 12:36 a.m. Central Time, after the Soyuz MS-14 encountered an unspecified problem with its KURS automated system, having an issue locking onto the Poisk docking port system for a final approach initiation for docking.
Station Houston on to any available U.S. crew.
Просьба оценить, уходит ли корабль от станции
Station Moscow. Can you please give us your assessment
средств визуального?
using whatever visual aids you have, windows included, to see if the spacecraft is backing away from the station right now? Copy, Yuri. Alexei is trying to take a picture of it right now, and what he's trying to do that out of is MRM2. And actually, he's saying that he's lost the visual of it from MRM2 as we speak. Yep, cannot see it from MRM2. Although before he called down its position with respect to the station from MRM2, he can no longer see it from MRM2 window. How copy? Copy all, Alexander.
Station look on 2.
Go ahead on 2.
While we have you, we're going to run a block November on the WHC.
And we copy you around block November.
And there's a situational awareness. This happened last night also. We had to run it twice before they cleared the pre-treat bad qual.
And we copy, and if you have to run it a second time after it happens again, we'll need to add some water, and we'll need to get you a procedure reference.
This is Mission Control Houston, flying just to the northeast of the Philippines.
And we'll contact you.
The Soyuz MS-14 unpiloted spacecraft that had enjoyed a flawless 2 days of automated flying towards an expected docking to the Poisk module of the International Space Station in this test flight, was required to have its approach aborted a few minutes ago at 12:36 a.m. Central Time, 1:36 a.m. Eastern Time, after the Soyuz encountered an unspecified problem with its KURS automated rendezvous system, unable to lock on properly to the Poisk module docking port, for which it had intended to link up to a short time ago. So we're standing by for further words from the Russian flight control team that's in charge of tonight's operation to see what the next course of action will be for the Soyuz vehicle.
Station looked on 2. The first time we were in block November, they didn't clear it, so we're waiting for instructions.
You have a go to run it a second time.
I'll be running it a second time.
This is Mission Control Houston. Just to recap, the View here of the Soyuz MS-14 unpiloted spacecraft that was launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome 2 days ago on a 2.1A booster on a test flight to not only assess the compatibility of the Soyuz with that booster rocket for future launches of KURS beginning next spring on the Soyuz 2.1A booster, but to assess upgrades to the telemetry and motion control systems of the Soyuz spacecraft for future application. The flight of the Soyuz, pre-programmed and automated, had been flawless up until the time that the Soyuz entered its fly-around of the station at a distance of about 400 meters. It closed to within about 100 meters or so of the station, and then encountered an unspecified problem with its KURS automated rendezvous system. Both sets, basically a prime and a backup string of systems, unable to properly lock on to the Poisk module docking port. After several tries at switching from one system on the KURS automated rendezvous hardware to another, the decision was made by the Russian flight control team under the direction of Chief Flight Director Vladimir Solovyev, to have Alexander Skvortsov and Alexei Ovchinin issuing an abort command that came at 12:36 a.m. Central Time, 1:36 a.m. Eastern Time, and the Soyuz, as you can see, is now backed away to a safe distance from the station while the Russian flight control teams assess the next course of action.
We are getting video from one of the USOS external cameras. It's getting smaller and smaller size-wise.
А улетает куда? Вперед, назад?
Which way is it backing away, though? Is it forward of the station, backward of the station? Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that, if you know?
Session, we are ready with for the number of the procedure. By the way, the second flash
space between the spacecraft and the station, so it makes it hard, if not impossible, to assess and terminate the video recording. What do you say, Moscow? That will be a question to address with the main control room.
Есть рекомендация включить телевидение МП.
Space station, our recommendation is to shut off the video, the MPEG. Copy. In work.
Какие дальше действия?
So Alexei, with the question, what are the further actions required from the crew? We're still formulating our recommendations. Stand by. Copy.
Экипаж ответится по Москве.
Station Moscow. Go ahead and switch to ground 1.
Сейчас передается связи главный оператор нижнего зала.
We're going to hand you over to the main control room. So from here on out, you'll be talking and getting all your recommendations from the Glavny in the main control room. We are going to have to say goodbye to you right now and sign off. Copy, Yuri.
МКС в Москве в канале СГ-1, проверка связи. Леш, как видишь?
Station Moscow, space to ground 1 for com check. Alexei, how do you read me? If you loud and clear, Slava, how me?
Да, тоже очень хорошо.
You the same.
Запись, я так понимаю, отключили, да?
Have you terminated recording? Yes.
Хорошо, спасибо.
Okay, copy, thanks.
Леш, на связи, слышишь меня?
Are you there?
Телевизор тоже отключать.
Might as well go ahead and deactivate all the video assets. Copy. In work. Moscow Station, this is Alexander.
На связи.
Go ahead. All right. I was able to see it. I'm still see it. Well, I did see it from my Soyuz, from AFE2's window, and it's located a little above the station, I guess. It's hard to put a number on the range, though. But we see it, it's taken up about 1/3 of the window size. 1/3 of the window size. Copy.
This is Mission Control Houston. The Soyuz MS-14 unpiloted spacecraft in the International Space Station flying to the northeast of the coast of Australia. The Soyuz aborted its approach. Actually, it was the cosmonauts on board the station that issued a command to the Soyuz to abort its approach some 27 minutes ago, after the Soyuz had problems locking its KURS automated rendezvous system signal onto the Poisk docking port on the space-facing side of the Russian segment of the station. The decision has been made by Russian flight controllers not to attempt another rendezvous tonight. It is unclear as to what the next course of action will be as the Russian flight control team assesses what may have caused a problem with the KURS automated rendezvous system. But the Soyuz now has backed away to a safe distance from the International Space Station. At no time was the crew in any danger. This was pre-planned without a backup TORU system in place.
24-hour safe trajectory. It's moving at 1 meter per second, and it is outside the approach ellipsoid.
Thanks, that's all good info.
Spacecraft communicator Tamara York informing Luca Parmitano aboard the International Space Station that the Soyuz that you see here in this image has exited the neighborhood of the International Space Station and is on a safe trajectory, basically a racetrack trajectory for 24 hours, that if the Russian flight control team solves the issue as to what caused the problem with the KURS system, could attempt a reapproach in 24 hours, but that has not yet been determined. The Russian flight control team currently looking at the data as to what happened to the KURS automated rendezvous system that caused the cosmonauts on board the station, Alexander Skvortsov and Alexei Ovchinin, the station commander, to issue a command to abort the approach of the Soyuz at a distance of about 100 meters or so at 12:36 a.m. Central Time.
The spacecraft is about 70 to 100 meters above the station, and it's like it's headed towards the docking port again, so it's like it's reapproaching. Copy, Alexei. This is Alexander. When I first got a glimpse of it, I did have that impression that it was coming back towards the station too. Okay, copy that, guys. So it's docking port is facing the station docking port, and in that attitude, it's about 50 to 70 meters away, and it's reapproaching the MRM2 docking axis. Copy. Continue monitoring and keep your commentary as regular and as complete as possible. So keep in mind that the station is rotating right now as well. Copy.
The International Space Station is being maneuvered back to its pre-docking orientation. All systems on board the station are in good shape. The crew was never in any danger during this approach. This was thought out well in advance, that without a backup telerobotically operated rendezvous system on the Soyuz vehicle, because there is never one on a crewed vehicle, in the event of a KURS problem, the station commander would take over the flying of the Soyuz, but with no crew on board for this test flight of the MS-14 spacecraft, it was all up to the cosmonauts on board with the capability, as was executed a short time ago, to execute an abort command that sent the Soyuz backing away from the station to a safe trajectory. The station is phasing above and behind the ISS, basically on a racetrack trajectory that would have it reapproach the station in 24 hours if the problems with the KURS automated rendezvous system can be solved by the Russian flight control team. That decision has not yet been made while the Russian flight controllers assess the data and the systems on board the Soyuz MS-14. This is Mission Control Houston. In the field of view, the Soyuz MS-14 unpiloted spacecraft on its test flight to the International Space Station. Just to recap, 24 minutes ago, the cosmonauts on board the station, Commander Alexei Ovchinin and Flight Engineer Alexander Skvortsov, issued an abort command from the Zvezda service module that prevented the Soyuz MS-14 from continuing its approach to the International Space Station. That command issued when the Soyuz was about 100 meters or so from the station at the back end of its fly-around. That would have precisely aligned the forward docking probe of the Soyuz spacecraft to the Poisk module docking port on the Russian segment of the International Space Station. An unspecified issue cropped up with the KURS automated rendezvous system, both strings of that system, that prevented a firm lock-on to the Poisk module. And after basically searching the sky for the right lock-on to the comparable KURS system on the station side of the docking interface, the abort command was issued. The Soyuz has now backed away to a safe distance, basically on a racetrack trajectory above and behind the station that would possibly enable it to return to the station for another rendezvous attempt in 24 hours. However, it has not yet been determined by the Russian flight control team as to whether or not they will attempt another rendezvous attempt in 24 hours or subsequent to that. At no time was the station crew in any danger. The abort command was built into this test flight specifically because a backup telerobotically operated rendezvous system is not part of a manned Soyuz vehicle. In the event of a KURS failure with a crew on board, the station commander, seated in the center seat of the Soyuz vehicle in the descent module, would take over the manual flying of the Soyuz for a docking. The TORU system only exists on unpiloted Progress cargo ships, or in this case, in this Soyuz MS-14 configuration without a crew on board. The rest of the flight of the Soyuz had been perfectly executed from its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan 2 days ago, up until the time that it reached the neighborhood of the station, and again, its approach to the station aborted at a distance of about 100 meters. This is Mission Control Houston, Russian flight controllers in this view from a balcony camera of the Russian flight control room at the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow, currently evaluating the data that they saw as the Soyuz MS-14 unpiloted spacecraft approached for docking to the International Space Station's Poisk module and then was forced to have its approach aborted at 12:36 a.m. Central Time, 1:36 a.m. Eastern Time. The cosmonauts in the Zvezda service module, Station Commander Alexei Ovchinin and Flight Engineer Alexander Skvortsov, issuing the command to have the Soyuz back away to a safe distance from the station. The Soyuz has now backed away to a phasing position above and behind the station, well out of the neighborhood of the station, on a so-called racetrack trajectory, a safe trajectory that would bring the Soyuz back around 24 hours from now. But whether or not it will be permitted to make another rendezvous attempt at that time is yet to be determined, depending on how the Russian flight control team evaluates the data that they saw and the problems incurred with the KURS automated rendezvous system, both sets of that KURS system that were unable to properly lock on to the docking port target on the Poisk module on the space-facing side of the Russian segment of the station.
You said it was at about a range of 200 to 300 meters. It was below. And we're in eclipse, we're fully in eclipse, so, even though we had been able to see it until a little while ago, now that we're lacking on the illumination side, we can. Okay. I've got an update for Alexei, the radiogram with the PAO tank for the United Arab Emirates. The answers have been sent to the email address. I not only just got them, but I'm also reading them, and I'm very grateful that you did send those to me. Copy. No problem.
приветствует Москву в канале СГ-1.
Station Moscow, Space to Ground 1. Go ahead.
Ребят, хочу пожелать вам хорошего дня.
I'd like to wish you a great day. I'm going to hand you back to Nikolai Lepatov. Thank you, Slava. Hey, fellas. How are you, Alexei and Alexander? I got back, and let's get started on our path. Hey, Nikolai, how are you? Greetings. Hey, Nikolai can wait. This is Soloviev. Alexander. Alexei. Are you there? Yes, of course, sir. We're right here. Well, here's the deal. Obviously, we've got a lot of investigating to do. The night going from Sunday to Monday is our next attempt. So we're going to skip a 24 cycle and then reattempt. And so, the KURS P signal amplifier was causing some issues. And the signal amplifier, and it communicates with the instrumentation compartment, which gets us close to Alexander's Soyuz. So what we'd like to do now, we would like to do a test. So we're going to use the signal amplifier that you use, so we consider it to be fully nominal. So we're going to use that from the KURS string in the instrumentation compartment of your Soyuz. And if everything goes well, which it should, because it hasn't been that long since you got to the station, so we're going to ask you to remove that amplifier unit. It shouldn't be that hard. We will have a specialist sitting right by the Glavny side. He will walk you through whatever you need to do as far as getting it dismantled and brought out. So that signal amplifier will need to be moved from the instrumentation compartment and stowed in the place of this suspect signal amplifier that has been giving us a disservice in MRM2, and we're going to stow it there. Since we're not going to be able to do a full test without the spacecraft, so we're just going to sign off on this amplifier as being nominal, and the quote-unquote bad amplifier, we're going to try to ask you to put it in the place of the one you'll remove from the Soyuz, from your Soyuz, Alexander. So basically a amplifier swap, and we're going to do a closed loop test there to make sure that that amplifier is the bad branch on the fall tree, because we're expecting, if the amplifier is to blame, that that test will be will fail. And so we're going to, in the meantime, we're going to start building the timeline and beefing it out in preparation for the upcoming reattempted docking. How clear is everything I've just told you? Yep, the logic and the sequence of events is perfectly clear. We're going to be looking forward to getting our radiograms and everything. That's right. We'll get everything ready, obviously.
So
that's in a nutshell what we've got going on. Next question: are you guys seeing the Soyuz right now? Because based on our ballistics, it should be approaching a safe distance away from the station, but getting a visual confirmation of that will always be used. Mr. Soloviev, you walked right through a handover. So we just got the tail end of what you said to see if it's far away from us. I went through all of the windows and I'm not seeing it in any of the windows in the Russian segment. Neither can I see it from Alexander's Soyuz. We did before, but no longer. Once we're out of eclipse, we're going to give it another look and see if we can see it. That goes without saying. Why would you limit yourself to the Russian segment? Why don't you go and check out the views from the USOS windows? I don't know which ones you would use first, but yeah, it's above the station. So we need to look through the windows that are facing forward, facing upwards, as opposed to all the USOS windows facing downwards. Okay, copy that. Anyway, we stopped at about 60 meters. That's as close as we got. And I think we got the same numbers or similar numbers from you guys. Exactly.
Ну, 60 метров, это, конечно,
недалеко. 60 meters is not far away, but that's okay.
Сейчас вот он уходит.
Yeah, now it's backing away.
Жалко, нельзя было в TORU перейти.
It's such a shame that we were not able to use TORU. We would grab it and bring it in.
Ловили не один раз, но, к сожалению, это Союз такой убогий.
Fortunately, this is the kind of stripped down Soyuz we're dealing with. Got no TORU.
Подсказывают. Ладно, в общем, давай. Я думаю, все будет хорошо. Точно.
Anyway, I'm confident that everything will go well.
Вы так примерно понимаете расположение курсовской аппаратуры?
Tell me something. Do you kind of know where all the KURS hardware is located, because the amplifier obviously will be close by? More or less, sir. But a radiogram or a bunch of photographs would be nice. Oh yeah, you'll get all of that. No doubt about that. You'll get all of that. All the connector numbers, everything will be delivered to you in due time. Basically, specialists will be sitting right by the Glavny side. So, we need to get going because of the time constraints we're dealing with, so obviously we won't be. But again, the logic and the sequence of events are crystal clear. Standing by for your further recommendations. Okay, guys. Sounds good. Back to Nikolai.
This is Mission Control Houston. You have been listening to a conversation between Russian flight controllers of the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov that you see on your screen, the large Russian flight control room for the International Space Station on the outskirts of Moscow.
Go ahead, Alexei. Nikolai, there will be some deltas coming in on today's timeline. So as soon as you have those, to run them by us. Yep, as soon as I get a good grip on what's going on and what changes will be incorporated, once I get a good grip on that, I will, first thing I'll do is run them by you. Okay, copy. We're going to enjoy our lunch. In the meantime, we'll look forward to getting your updates. Precisely. Talk to you soon.
The Russian flight controllers in Korolyov telling cosmonauts Alexei Ovchinin, the Expedition 60 commander, and flight engineer Alexander Skvortsov that the early look at the data following the aborted approach of the Soyuz MS-14 unpiloted spacecraft to the International Space Station within the past hour, they are theorizing that a problem exists with the KURS system on the station side that basically bounces signals back and forth between the Soyuz KURS automated rendezvous system to enable the Soyuz to hone in on its docking target. In this case, the port of call was the Poisk module docking port on the station space-facing side of the Russian segment.
Okay.
Значит, смотри, Алексей, радиограмма
2871. 2871. As part of your surge maintenance allocation, you'll have to activate the distillation hardware.
The early look at the data, according to the conversation that you heard just a few moments ago between the Russian flight controllers and the cosmonauts on the station, indicated that they're considering having the crew on board the station replace an amplifier a component associated with the KURS automated rendezvous system on the station side of that automated rendezvous interface. After it is replaced and tested, they could attempt another rendezvous
at the time allocated for Soyuz maintenance
on Sunday night into early Monday morning. They are skipping a 24-hour rendezvous attempt, although the Soyuz is on a trajectory that would carry it back around for a possible attempt 24 hours from now. That will not be the case. The Soyuz will continue to phase away to a safe distance. They will attempt to have the Soyuz spacecraft phase away to a safe distance away from the station. It's on a safe trajectory. The crew on board the station never in any danger during this aborted rendezvous attempt. The Soyuz now will be on a trajectory that not only will carry it back toward the vicinity of the station 24 hours from now, but also 48 hours from now. They are going to skip any attempt at re-rendezvousing with the station for a docking attempt tomorrow night, meaning Saturday night into Sunday morning. The earliest attempt now, pending further evaluation of the data, would be Sunday night into Monday morning. No time for a docking on Sunday night has yet been established. Once again, the Russian flight controllers theorizing in their conversation with the cosmonauts on board the station that the problem that prevented the automated docking of the Soyuz MS-14 to the Poisk module within the hour is a problem not with the Soyuz system, but rather with the KURS system on the station side of the docking interface. There is a KURS P for passive, that is the station KURS system, and a KURS A system, meaning active, that's on the Soyuz side of the docking interface. The two systems basically bounce signals off of each other to enable the onboard computers on the Soyuz vehicle to gauge its position relative to the docking target, as well as distance and rate of closure. On manned Soyuz vehicles, which is not the case with the MS-14, which is an unpiloted test vehicle, for Soyuz manned vehicles, in the event of a KURS failure, the station or the Soyuz commander would take over the flying of the Soyuz for a docking. In the case of an unmanned Progress cargo ship approach to the station, the Progress is equipped with a backup system called the TORU system, which is the telerobotically operated rendezvous system, so that if the KURS system failed, the cosmonauts in the Zvezda service module operating from a workstation would activate a joystick and manually fly the Progress in for a docking. Well, the TORU system is not part of this test flight for the Soyuz vehicle because it's in a manned configuration, although there is no crew on board. As a result, the cosmonauts on the station, Alexei Ovchinin and Alexander Skvortsov, were equipped with the ability to abort, send a command to abort the approach of the Soyuz to the station. That's what happened almost an hour ago at 12:36 a.m. Central Time, 1:36 a.m. Eastern Time. The Soyuz backed away to a safe distance out of the neighborhood of the station. It's on a racetrack trajectory, a safe trajectory, where it will fly above, behind, and back towards the station, not only 24 hours from now, but 48 hours from now. The Russian flight controllers saying that they will skip any attempt at a 24-hour rendezvous on Saturday night into Sunday morning. The next earliest attempt would be Sunday night into Monday morning. But no decision has yet been made on that. The next course of action would be sending instructions up to the cosmonauts on board the station to replace an amplifier, part of the KURS rendezvous system on the station side of the KURS interface, and retest that in advance of any final decision as to whether or not another rendezvous attempt will be made and when that rendezvous attempt would be made.
Houston Station on 2 for exercise constraints.
Go ahead on 2.
We want to see if there was any adjustment being made, any adjustments to the exercise constraints bands that we see as a result of this morning's activities.
We're checking. And there are no deltas to the exercise constraints. You're go to exercise.
Okay, copy. We see the bands and understand that we're go to exercise.
And if we can have you close any window shutters that were open for situational awareness.
Copy. I can confirm that the cupola, all the USOS shutters are closed.
Copy. Thank you for the confirmation.
This is Mission Control Houston. It has been just over an hour since the automated approach of the Soyuz MS-14 spacecraft was initiated by Station Commander Alexei Ovchinin and Flight Engineer Alexander Skvortsov from inside the International Space Station. The flight of the Soyuz MS-14 had been flawless following its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan early Thursday morning Kazakhstan time. It had been right on with all of its unpiloted free flight automated engine firings and all of its test flight objectives having been conducted successfully up until the time it completed its fly around of the station in the neighborhood of its final approach for a docking to the Poisk module on the space-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. At that point, before a final approach to the station was to have been initiated, a unspecified problem cropped up that prevented the Soyuz from locking on to its docking port target on the International Space Station in the name of the Poisk module docking port. And after several attempts and switching both strings of the KURS system to try to achieve a good lock-on, the decision was made by Russian flight controllers to have the crew abort the approach of the Soyuz MS-14, the unpiloted test flight spacecraft, and to have it back away to a safe distance from the station. Russian flight controllers told the cosmonauts on board the station that they are currently theorizing that the problem that prevented the final approach for docking resides with the KURS passive system on the station side of the automated rendezvous interface, not on the Soyuz spacecraft itself. Instructions will be sent up to the crew on Saturday to the cosmonauts to work procedures to replace an amplifier for the so-called KURS P or passive system on the station side of that automated rendezvous interface. There will be no rendezvous attempt made on Saturday night into Sunday morning. The next earliest attempt following a replacement of that amplifier would be Sunday night into Monday morning. However, no final decision on that has yet been made. It will be made by the Russian flight controllers under the direction of Chief Flight Director Vladimir Soloviev as soon as they have full confidence that the problem has been solved to allow another rendezvous attempt to be made. So we don't know when we'll be back on the air with the next rendezvous attempt of the unpiloted Soyuz MS-14 in this test flight that will ultimately pave the way for crews to be launched on this modified Soyuz spacecraft and the Soyuz 2.1A booster next spring. As soon as we know when that next attempt will be made, we will obviously report that through social media and through the NASA television schedule. So keep checking the web at www.nasa.gov/station for when we would be back on the air with the next rendezvous attempt by the Soyuz MS-14 for its docking automatically to the International Space Station. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage for tonight. Again, the first attempt at an automated docking of the Soyuz MS-14 tonight aborted in the final stages of its approach to the station due to what is theorized to have been a problem with the KURS automated rendezvous passive system on the station side. The cosmonauts will do some replacement work of components on that system with the hope that another rendezvous attempt could be made late Sunday night into early Monday morning. When we know more, we'll certainly pass it on, but for now, that will wrap up our coverage. Have a good weekend. Signing off now from Mission Control Houston.
you.